Peace and blessings, family. This is your boy Gerald. It is the 6th of December, 2017. How is everybody doing? We blink twice, family. You'll be sitting around the tree and you'll be unwrapping gifts and tokens of endearment, celebrating the unity of the bonds to come together in that moment. Before I put this video out, I jumped on Google and I was just curious to look at the statistic for the world populace. And it reflected that there is 7.6 billion people on this sacred planet. But you know, what I could not fathom is the fact that I can cut that in half and we can say 3.3 billion people are walking on this planet and they are not happy in their existence. And I believe that is a true statement because with all the motivation to reinvent yourself and invest in impulsive choices, it just baffles me that out of that 3.3, there is still somebody that is going to willfully allow for their life or life to not be treasured, to not be claimed. And I know that some will say, well, Gerald, you know, that's the polarity of the world where there is opposites. And with those opposites will be different viewpoints in life or mentality, and those mentalities will force the direction of the steps that they take. But I'm a firm believer that through time, through examples that are countless, eventually you are going to be faced with truth. And I say that with deep sincerity, with compassion, with empathy, because I also understand that there are those who feel a certain kind of way when it comes to holidays and what they represent. The core to any holiday should be love. Love. But if you do not know the greatest example of what love is, and that's you will not understand the bigger picture of what you represent. Not only for the people that you won't come to know, but the people that made the sacrifices before you existed. Yes, I understand that there is an ideology to romanticize and define what beauty is, what status is, and not focus on the things that are unable to be grasped physically, like your emotional self, your identity, your self-worth, let alone your spiritual aspect of what is the engine behind it all. Because not to ramble, you woke up today. You hear my voice. That in itself should be a validation that, hey, you have work still yet to be completed. But you can get there, and you shall. And I'm hopeful and optimistic that you will, because the person that you're destined to become is waiting, optimistically hoping that no matter what is your challenges, what is the obstacles, you will champion through it all. But guess what? It falls on one decision, the linchpin to it all, and that is the choice to love yourself. Who am I talking to? I really believe that if you make that decision, not only are you going to be able to readjust your motivation, but you will also see and understand your strength. Now, you don't actually believe that those natural gifts and talents that were bestowed to you, which were given the moment that you took your first breath for this earthly realm, that it was just by default. Do you actually think that, oh, I have this ability, and you don't realize how priceless that is? But yet you've heard this echoed throughout your life. Man, I wish I had that ability to grasp or understand or demonstrate whatever that may be. You only know what that is because I'm talking to you. I'm talking to you. You know I'm talking to you. But no matter what, even in the times where it may have felt that you were looking at the face of fear, fear, finally everything's a reality and you are unscathed. You were brought there for a reason, right? You were shown that for a reason, right? And that was God's way of saying you are bigger than the experience. I have something more, but I need you to be ready. You realize how many people get that inclination and they choose to ignore it? And they won't admit this. They won't. Like uh what's her name? Judge Faith. They have the little vignette of her show, and she says, she quotes from Will Smith's movie he did some shortly ago, and said, some people will prefer to stick with the lie than embrace the truth. But what about your truth? Do you realize that your truth is connected to your life story? You do understand that, right? So I got to ask you, who gave you that bag of distraction or sold you those magical beans to convince you you're not good enough, you're inadequate, you're delinquent? Who told you that? And better yet, where are they now? Hmm? Where are they in your life? I guarantee you, a nickel to a dime, you ain't seen them since the last time you adjusted your watch. But the impact of what was projected onto you has lasted time now, hasn't it? I'm here to break some shackles for somebody, because I'm here to tell you that was nothing but denial. That was nothing but envy. And that was nothing but a strategy for you to embrace the same position that they are embracing now. And let me explain something to you too, because a lot of people tend to overlook this. You do understand that everything that you do, there is an effect to it, right? And unfortunately, there are a lot of people that walk on this planet that have this bulletproof mentality or feel that their choices have no reason to have accountability connected to it. But what you don't see is in the intended time and moment, guess what? That lesson shall be learned. You can't run from that because it's spiritual. And guess what? The roles, the statuses, the positions, the events shift. Why? It is part of the human dynamic. And guess what? Didn't God tell man long time ago, those who are last shall be made first, and those who are first shall be made last? Why? Because he loves you so much, he's affording you the opportunity to gain insight. Your insight is what forges your wisdom. You don't actually believe that, oh, you know what? That generational curse, I'm cursed too. Well, a curse only has impact when you believe in it or refuse to acknowledge what has been present or presented. Who am I talking to? So let me shift gears real quick because I'm going to start my day. But this is for somebody because I got a feeling that you really have given up and you actually believe, you've actually convinced yourself. You also know that thought process without having proper clarity, anything that you think you manifest. You do understand that, right? That's why words have power, family. Think about it. That's why you can be in an environment and one person comes into the dynamic and it shifts. Why? Because it's spiritual. You can tell a broken person without them saying anything. All you got to do is look into their eyes because the eyes are the window to the soul. But I also understand that you have some people that believe that's not the case, Gerald, because I'm educated. But are you spiritually grounded? Because some of your greatest lessons in life are not found on the pages of a manuscript. You can't even grab them, but you feel them now, don't you? But yet you still don't believe God exists. Well, as long as you want to put just who's guess who's in the front, it ain't God. That's why it's so important, family, to forge your relationship with Him. That's what intimacy is about. Or like Ayana Van Dance likes to say, into me I see. If you're not willing to look within inside you, how can you expect your environment to do the same? What do you think a projection is? But I guess since we want to put man in front of God, everything's okay, right? You actually believe that your life as you live it is all it's going to be? You actually believe that? If that was the case, how about those people out there in California right now with everything that's been going on? Did you think in a million years they would be in the position that they're in? Do you actually think no one took heed to what had happened previously? and say, you know what? I need to make sure I got my affairs in order, and I need to make sure that I've got some type of fail safes in place just in case. But yet there were still those that had doubt. What is the reality of today, though? And I'm gonna be the first one go out there to lean forward in an opinion. I personally believe all this fires and stuff. Yeah, we won't blame it on weather. I really believe it. That was done by the hands of someone being an opportunist. Because as I mentioned before in my previous videos, with the last forest fire that hit Santa Rosa, only people that are going to benefit from that whole situation are egotistical capitalists. Because guess what? Truth be told, we still have not learned the effects or taken in consideration of those who went through it with Katrina, who went through it in Atlantic City, in New Jersey, the coastline. Y'all remember that? We didn't learn from that. Why? But is it coincidence or is it intent? But at the end of the day, it is not our position to judge, to have malice, because the same energy you put out is the same energy that will return. So, why won't you love yourself? What are you waiting on? Are you waiting for all the stars to align before you'll finally give yourself permission to see your value? Well, the next time that you decide to go that way, make sure you also take note to those bruises that you got. How about them scars that you've been holding inside you, and your emotional backpack is extremely heavy now, especially now the holidays are here. You realize how many people have anguish about the holidays? Well, let's call it for what it should be, holy day. Why? Because these folks refuse to claim their lives. So how can you value your identity? And let's go a little deeper. When you decide to see the value of your life, you'll even respect your DNA. Who am I talking to? You go to your closet every day saying, which face am I going to put on today? Hoping that it will make you feel emotionally safe. But what does it do? It makes you feel more void, more frozen, more numb. I'm not making light of your pain, but your pain is knows no time. It has no allegiance to a gender, but it knows the spirit very well. Why? Because it's a tool for you to claim you. And until you decide to go within yourself and say enough is enough, don't worry about looking down the road. Don't worry about it. Because the real you will not be able to connect to who you really are. Maybe that's the reason why the only time you're able to see that beautiful smile is in a photo or in a memory. It was all good yesterday, Gerald, but today is just another day. So does it surprise you why we have so little value to life? So we don't value life. Do you think we're going to actually value? Hush. You see, that's Tyson. You probably see some spirits up in here. But if they ain't of God, they are cast. I know. You hear him back there? He's like, So listen, I'm here to tell you, no amount of money in the world, no matter what the material value is, that's measured by man, not by God. That's why it comes and goes, and that's why you can't take it with you. No matter how hard you try to be witty. You know what? And I'm gonna leave this alone real quick, but I saw something just now before I cut on this video that really shook me. I happen to have on uh what was that, Laura Lane's paternity court, and there was a woman there with her daughter 36 years old. The potential father was he was there. He had financially supported the daughter till she was 20. And the mother was like, he the only one. Nope. And of course, because we live in the society that we live in, we are quick to convict someone in the court of public opinion than fact. And as they run it, it gets to the point that the verdict is going to be released. And you know what? He was right. And just as clear as a bell, the mother was like, no. And he said, there was a time that when we were together, my father was so upset that he cast me out of the house and allowed her to remain. And they more or less nurtured her through her pregnancy. And he said, it's not that she's a bad mother. I don't trust her. And of course, the crowd is ooh and all that, right? But he said, it's not that I don't trust her. I mean, it's not that she's a bad person and I don't trust her. I don't trust myself, which was very prolific because that dynamic right there was how they got together. They didn't value their individualities, nor could they value what mattered most. So after the verdict was revealed, she still stuck to her position. And that just bothered me because we are human beings. We are born to sin. We make mistakes, but we can't free ourselves from our bondage until we identify what enslaves us. You realize how many people refuse and choose to stay in their denial, even though the doors were already unlocked? All you had to do was walk through them. But because of the fact that we so preoccupied in false validation, we make impulsive decisions and we embrace the distraction more than the value of what needed to happen all along. And I couldn't understand that because that basically was a slap in the face of the daughter too. Now 36 years old. It blew my mind. And that is a common sentiment throughout the world. I understood that. You have some boys that grow up in men's bodies but do not have the mentality to see the value of their last name. Because if they did, they would value the legacy that was set forth before it was claimed. But we're so worried about stigmas and things that don't matter. destruction that it causes. Still, this woman, this beautiful woman, does not know her legacy. And her mom, ever so meek, refused to give that woman what she needed. I don't understand that. And I get it. You're young, you're not, and life calls, and you become a mom, you're expecting, and the person that you romanticize is not going to be the person that will end up changing your last name or unlocking the other side of your life. And you hold on to your pain and build off of it as your motivation, but yet you wonder why so many people today, 2017, are bitter. They're delusional too. But what's more disappointing is you realize the extended family that you know nothing about, at least on a medical standpoint. You realize nowadays, family, the average person don't even know their medical history. And you need that more than ever now because you have so many diseases and ailments and things that are being passed hereditarily. Why is that? And I just was just blown away because it's like the mom should have had a little bit more empathy to say, you know what? Yes, I was immature. I made some choices, but that doesn't mean that you're a bad person. That's what is required for your development. How can you master your challenges if you don't acknowledge what is being afforded for you to learn from? That's no different than someone marrying for security. You realize how many people do that? Well, take somebody else's last name, emotions, even though their heart is connected to somebody else. And you wonder, well, why is their disposition that way? Because they're not over Johnny. And they won't be over Johnny until Johnny gives them adequate closure. And usually what happens for that, it has to have a negative outcome for them to finally, okay, I'm gonna move on. But guess what? It's not about moving on because you were not claimed to begin with. So there's the denial. So let's look at that from a time management standpoint. People choose their pride over their progression. You can't build off a false ego, family. The walls won't stand up. When life sways, they'll crumble. But we're quick to do this. Oh well, man, that's messed up. And choose to live a life of servitude emotionally. And you wonder why a lot of people are getting sick. Some of the top 10% of diseases impacting man start here. You will find the commonality because they'll say it's neurological. Well, if it's neurological, that means it has to do with the mind. So guess what? Until you decide to identify what is present, how can you be able to embrace the remedy? Maybe this is the moment that you'll finally say, you know what? I need to get out of my own damn way. Because, as the saying goes, insanity is constantly doing the same application, expecting a different result. That was coined by Albert Einstein. But people will choose their pain before their progression. That's so sad. You're like, oh, yeah, I treated Johnny like a piece of garbage. He treated me well, and I didn't deserve him. But instead of being honest with myself, every game comes full circle because your life isn't a game, it's an experience. Always was, always will be. Why? Because you're going to understand that there was nothing that they could have done to sway your decision. You'd already co-signed off of it before the action. Otherwise, it would have never occurred. Did you hear me? No one can make you do anything you don't want to do. You have to co-sign it. So if you are so smart, so astute, so intelligent, why is it you still refuse to love yourself? Because then that means you have to admit what is broken. And if you're willing to admit what's broken, not in concession, but acceptance, you'll also come to see that that was also what made up your thought process. And just like dominoes set up one by one by one by one, you will start to unravel the choice. And that choice, you will see the effect, but only in reverse. So while we want to sit here and say, well, Darnell made me do that, over you, still won't love yourself? Well, guess what? Until you decide you can't be this. So you make a choice. Suffer in silence or be courageous and claim your life back. Then you'll know what love feels like. Make this the moment that you will forge a relationship with yourself. The greatest lies ever embraced by man was from the movie Jerry Maguire when echoed those words, you completely. No, you don't. Mm-mm. That's an illusion. Because if that was the case, those people that you chose to have the right to be called friends, where are they now? Where are they? To put your pride to the side, your compassion, your forgiveness, because forgiveness is not for them; it's for you. That is the key that unlocks the soul ties. You know what a soul tie is? You know what a soul tie is, right? You know how you got them? That's when you decide to fellowship with someone that doesn't deserve the right to hear you breathe. And guess what? As long as you find affiliation in that decision, you inherit their indiscretions. That's why you see it play out time and time again. The stronger spirit will have control over the weak. That's why when you see people together and they emulate, walk, talk, dress, what happened to such and such? Oh, that's the influence of that person. Just like bad behavior too. You're with somebody like, why are you acting this way? Because they're being influenced spiritually by that environment or that person in that environment. For them, pray for them. Don't judge them. And hope that whatever they're doing, they make it through, because guess what? Every high is a setup for a low. That's how the devil do. More, but never what you need. That's why it's temporary too. So when you hear people say, "Oh, it was a one night stand," I think it was. I thought it was going to blossom. Let me tell you something. You want a relationship? The relationship starts with you first. You are the seed. But if you don't have a relationship with God first, you're going to attract somebody that don't know God. In other words, when I keep conveying to you, Queen, I tell you, stop looking for your mate, because you will only attract the now, not the forever. But if they don't have a relationship with God first, guess what? They don't have a relationship with themselves. So unfortunately, the effect will be they will never have a relationship with you, because they don't know themselves to protect or see the value of their lives. So how the hell would they know where they're going? That's why people are so impulsive and nomadic. You know what happens with nomadic, impulsive people? They take no accountability. Oh, I'll chalk it up. I'll just chalk it up. I had to take that one on the chin. I sure did. That's a cop out. You need to opt in. And maybe that's the reason why some of y'all are, I keep trying to tell y'all, some of y'all know some people that get ready to go into some serious debt over an illusion, just to appease someone that did not earn the right to even hear you breathe. Soon as you give them that token, oh, well, I feel good. Watch they drop off the map. Because the people that really love you, they don't need monetary gifts. They don't need that. What they value is watching you grow to be in the presence of what is priceless. That is you. You think that is spawned by how many sexual partners you give? You do understand that the more you one night stand, you take your essence away, but you also attach it to somebody. You do know that, right? Their spirit is in you. Why do you think you feel the pain you feel? Hmm? Why? Come on. You don't believe me? Think about it. Think about where you were financially, emotionally, spiritually before you said hello. And wasn't it? Because that person is not your forever. That person is your distraction. And the goal is to distract you from you. You see it all the time, because slowly but surely they will isolate you from what matters most. Some of y'all may be going to school or make a decision to turn the page in your life to evolve, and they're the first ones to talk you out of it. Why? Because they like you the same way you are. Why? Not going anywhere. Doesn't that strike a nerve? Why would you want someone in your life that doesn't want to progress? The same reason why do people allow people in their lives that don't value them? But Gerald, he made me feel so good. He makes my body tingle. Imagine what your husband will do. Imagine what your wife will possess. You cannot find peace of mind any better than a person that sees your worth. You know why they see your worth? Because they see theirs first. So when you hear people say, "Nah, Gerald, opposites attract," That's a bunch of bull. And those are the same people that refuse to take accountability for their lives. That's why misery loves company too. But you let society tell it, they're gonna spin it. And you notice there's no accountability. There's never no I statement. I did this and I. No, they got an excuse for everything. Why? Because you listening. Because you also doing the same thing. So what are you gonna do? Because that little boy, little girl is waiting for you to come back home. But the person that is waiting in the future, your future self, they have so much to offer you and show you. But you have to be prepared. That's why blessings are time released too. But you already know that. Why would God give you your blessing for you to squander it? Because it requires free will to accept it. But it also requires knowledge of self. And then I'm not talking about your pigment. You're a spiritual being first. Did you know that, right? You don't believe me? Ask those people that had third-degree burns and survived. Do you think their life stopped? No. Because what counts and matters, they are found and protected within. Don't believe me? Next time you go in the bathroom, you tell that little boy and that little girl looking back at you, some of y'all can't do it. Some of y'all refuse to tell yourself, I love you. I can't, I feel funny, Drew. I can't say that's weak. And you wondering why they've got Walking Dead on the TV show. That's a metaphor of the populace. Because to live in this world, guess what? You have to know knowledge of self, but you got to be able to critically think. God is praying for you. You know I am. I see your worth. And for that, it helps me discern mine. You want to get rid of the nightmares? You want to get rid of the insecurities? You got to start loving on you. And no, that does not mean you wait for that call or for them to get their act together. No, you get out of their way by first getting out of yours. God's got something better for you. Will you claim it? Peace.